Hey everyone, welcome back to a hardware news recap. This one has a lot of cool stories in it. First of all, there's an officially licensed Star Trek Borg Cube PC case. Never knew this company existed. They've been doing it a while, so we're going to be talking about that. NVIDIA silently updated the RTX 4080 GPU silicon. And additionally, there's some news about AMD A620 chipset motherboards, which should bring down the entry-level cost to AM5. Maybe it'll finally hit that magical, mythical at this point, $125 price point that AMD advertised months ago. But we'll see. Let's get started. Before that, this video is brought to you by Arctic and the Liquid Freezer 2 liquid coolers, now including an ARGB model in the lineup. The Liquid Freezer series has been a top performer in our benchmark for years now, and Arctic has continually fine-tuned its products even post-launch with things like kits for Ryzen, ARGB fans for new flare, and new radiator sizes. The company also has its brand new MX6 thermal paste on the market now. Learn more at the links in the description below. First one, really briefly, you might remember at the end of the year 2022, we did a store drive basically, to raise some money for a local computer hardware engineering class in a public high school. So that closed back in December whenever we said it was closing. We tallied up all the money. It's pretty good. I'm not going to reveal the amount right now because Patrick Stone, who teaches that class, frequently watches the videos, and even if he doesn't watch them, one of his students will watch it. So I'm not going to reveal the amount yet because we want to surprise him, but it's pretty good. We're going to plan a basically, well, I can't say too much. We're going to plan some really fun content around it though and upfit their classroom. We showed some photos last time when we talked about it where a lot of the stuff they're working with is like a decade old. A lot of the motherboards have completely smashed pins in the sockets because high school students. So we're going to set them up with some newer stuff, but we'll come back to that. I don't know. It'll be sometime in the next couple months. We have to schedule it for when he's got good timing in between teaching. So anyway, just wanted to update everyone on that, and it'll be pretty fun when we can actually get around to filming the whole thing. We also worked with some companies on getting a couple more parts for them, so that's cool too. All right, first story. AMD B650 can be upgraded into X670. This is really interesting. This is a really good video from Level 1 Techs. So Wendell over there, who recently joined us to do a server video. It's already on the channel if you want to see it. We actually filmed that a few months ago, but we just put it up. So he has a video on this new add-in card. It's a PCIe add-in card from ASRock, and it is literally a chipset attached to a PCIe card. Pretty interesting. So it's a brilliant use of a chipset. I mean, it's a standalone discrete component. There's no reason you can't put it on a card, and that's what ASRock did. It includes a control line cable with a lot of pins that can socket into compatible motherboards, like ASRock's, and it also gives you additional I/O. The card is called the Expansion, with no E, of course, X670, and Wendell used it with the vibrant new live mixer motherboard series that we recently covered in news. Now those boards themselves are actually pretty cool just for doing something unique and different. There's a lot of color, a lot of paint. We like that, just it's different from black and RGB. The card adds 2x4 M.2 slots. It has one 10 gigabit Ethernet. It has a USB Type-C, and it's got some USB Type-A connections on it as well at 3.0. ASRock BIOS offers additional and special control over the card. He shows it in his video. You can check it out there. But it's just literally adding a second chipset to your motherboard. What I'm curious about is if they had multiple of those control line headers on the boards, I don't know how deep it goes. Like, can you socket 4 of those? If there's sufficient control line headers, at some point you're going to run out of PCIe, I guess, from the CPU or from the existing chipset. But anyway, it's a really cool video. It's pretty short and quick, so you should check it out. It's on Level 1 Techs, and Wendell's hosting it. He does great work. He's done all the work on our servers here over the years, so highly recommend it. But that's just, it's a cool piece of technology. How practical is it? I don't know, it depends how much I/O you need. Next one is NVIDIA silently updating the RTX 4080 silicon. So you may be aware that silicon always from NVIDIA bears a label on it. For example, GA102, GA104, GA106. Typically the higher number, like 106, would be the lower end GPU. And the lower number, like 102 or 100, like Volta, 100T, Tesla V100s, for example, would be the largest silicon. So there's a news story originated from Chinese language forum ChipHell that last week showed a photo of an RTX 4080 GPU, allegedly. And it is a 4080, but the die says AD103-301. That 1 is an indicator of a revision. So they use all the digits in the model name to allow for different revisions. You might see AD103-350 or -300. Very rarely do we see a 301 or something equivalent to that. The post suggests that NVIDIA is updating the silicon. There was some speculation that it's to move a voltage comparator internal to the silicon and off of the PCB. Tom's Hardware, meanwhile, reported via the rumors that there will also be an AD104-251 design to accompany the 4070 that's not out yet, and the 4070 Ti GPUs, which would replace the AD104-250. This doesn't happen frequently, but it has happened. So the RTX 2060 would be one of the more noteworthy examples of a GPU silicon change, where EVGA launched a KO model. MSI had some also. KO was an EVGA naming, though. It wasn't an NVIDIA thing. And that model was guaranteed to have the newer revision of the RTX 2060. It was a really interesting piece of silicon because it was actually from a higher class of card. It's been years. I think it was from a 2070. So they brought it down anyway from a higher class. It might have been from a Quadro or something, but it's been a while. Remind me in the comments what they brought it down from. They meant to fuse off all of the extra features on it and turn it into a 2060. So these were functional chips. They were intentionally making them worse. It's not evil. It's just what they do to sort of make it to meet the demand wherever it is. And NVIDIA forgot to turn some stuff off. And what they forgot to turn off massively boosted the production and workstation performance. We have a review of it from years ago. It's a super interesting chip. So every time something like this happens, the question from anyone buying these is, should I explicitly hunt down one versus the other? Is it better to get a 301 or a 251? And should I try to avoid the original silicon that might be technically older? Right now, we have no evidence to suggest that one is better in a meaningful way than the other. But at the same time, that was true for the 2060 KO up until we ran SpecView perf on it. And it's like, oops, it's accidentally really good at these fluid dynamics simulations. That was a mistake. Anyway, we might check it out, but there really is no reason to think there's a difference on this one. I don't think they would make the 2060 mistake again anyway, and it's not the same type of non-lateral move. All right, AMD A620 is next. So when AMD announced AM5, it talked about motherboards as cheap as $125. That hasn't really materialized, at least not in a meaningful way. Most of the boards like X670 were far more expensive than past generations. The B series came out, B650, it got a little bit better. It took a while, but it sort of shook out in the low, like the 150 range. Now there's A620s. Maybe that's where this magical number will come. However, the A series boards from AMD historically have been more like $50 motherboards, maybe 60 at the high end. So if they're 125, it's going to feel pretty bad. The A series chipsets, if you don't know, they are significantly cut down. So you lose I/O, you're losing PCIe, you're probably losing USB, you're probably losing SATA, and it's severely stripped down. These will still obviously support DDR5 only because the CPUs, of course, don't support DDR4, so it's not like that's an option, and that means the base price will remain high. But they'll lack overclocking support, so that means an overall cost reduction as well. The VRM doesn't need to be as good, cooling doesn't need to be as good, and the features don't need to be there in BIOS. Video Cards notes that the leak information originated from the Eurasian Economic Commission. This is where a lot of these types of leaks come from. It doesn't mean a product is guaranteed to come out. It just means that a company is thinking of making one. It's basically an entry list of names. Now, in this instance, there are enough A620 entries that the chipset is basically confirmed to be real at this point. The specific motherboards might change, but there's entries from Gigabyte and from Asus. They're not always self-filed, but they typically are, so it looks real. Now, for the rest of this, it comes down to fewer high-speed I/O lanes, Intel terminology, but the board quality tends to go down as well because they're trying to hit a lower-end market, so strip down VRM, strip down cooler, probably lacking common troubleshooting features like debug displays, stuff like that. We'll check them out, or at least talk about them in news once they're more formal. But for now, you can keep an eye out for it. Up next, we already covered the Hyte Y40. The company just announced at CES. We showed it back when we were in Taiwan a month ago. But there were also a couple of accessories for the Y60 that are worth mention and that we didn't see. First, they kept this one secret from us when we visited. There's a DIY LCD kit that lets users replace the front corner glass of the Y60 with a screen. It's a pretty cool way to make use of that space. Unfortunately, the Y40 does not have that corner, so this doesn't exist for the new case. Now, this has got a resolution of 1920 by 515, and it comes with a driver board and with cables. Strangely, though, Hyte doesn't ship a mounting solution with the kit. They have an STL file of a mount available on Hyte's website, so you can 3D print one yourself if you have a 3D printer or borrow one somewhere, but that's your only option. Now, with the screen in place, users are able to display anything. Obviously, it's literally just a display. So system stats, Hyte says you could show your new favorite meme, which makes sense as you get to meet more of the people in the industry through our upcoming video series as we profile the companies. Rob Teller, who's driving the design decisions at Hyte, likes memes, so that's not a surprise that they market it that way. The kit is available for $120. It's currently sold out. Hyte also showed off a custom waterblock distro plate at CES. This is for the Y60 as well. And like the screen, it's designed to take the place of the front corner glass. We think this makes for a really cool look, and it utilizes that front corner well, because the front corner, if you think about it, it creates a lot of unusable space, except for showing things off. So this is basically the only use for it other than looking through it. Hyte hasn't mentioned anything about mounting, so hopefully this one actually comes with hardware out of the box and not 3D printer files. Hyte doesn't have much info on its site, but Brian from BPS Customs got a good look at it in his video, so go check it out. You can type in BPS Customs in the YouTube search and check out the video. Just a quick, totally unrelated shout out to him too. He recently did a video talking about some of the stuff we've talked about in the past, of basically like titling responsibility of YouTubers and news agencies and tech hardware. Worth a watch. It's pretty brief, but I think he gets his points across well. Anyway, this will ship with a D5 pump pre-installed. The price, it's going to be up there. It's $300 if you want the pump pre-installed. And that price isn't out of line with other distro plates on the market. They're just all kind of high like that. So anyway, we think they're generally overpriced across the board for distro plates. They are very specific to what they're built for, though. So it's one of those like, well, if you want it, that's your only option. Up next, another PC case company. This is one I didn't know existed. It is called Cherry Tree Inc. And they just recently announced a new Borg, as in Star Trek, white-colored PC case. Now, I'm going to be honest, when I saw the tweet, some of our viewers, thank you, by the way, sent us the tweet that they announced this case. When I saw it, I clicked through, I was like, there is no way this is licensed. This is going to get shut down immediately. It's licensed. It's like their whole thing. They sell a bunch of licensed Star Trek stuff. So the case is built in Los Angeles. It is $400 for the new white version of the case, which honestly, it's expensive for a computer case, obviously. But for something that's licensed where they're sharing some revenue with the licensor, and it's a custom build, it's not like they make the volume of these that would support lower prices. It's honestly not bad, as long as the quality is good, of course. Now this company, because we hadn't heard of them, I was looking around on their site, they actually sold a case somewhat recently that was autographed by, I think it was 9 people from the cast or the crew of different Star Trek productions. That included J.J. Abrams, Brent Spiner, John Delancey, or also known as Q, LeVar Burton, and more. So they appear to be pretty legit. The new one it supports 3 120mm ARGB case fans. It has an option for a fiber optic lighting that you can see in the photos they have, and it supports standard ATX motherboards. Radiators up to 240mm are also supported, and the website states this of the thermals and airflow. Quote, each case has 16 Borg panels. All right. And each panel has vents of different sizes. We put a lot of thought into this when we designed these Star Trek computer cases. They're not just black boxes with 3 fans on the back. Our Star Trek Borg PC cases need to breathe. In terms of how they make it, the website says that they use injection molded ABS plastic that they secure to an aluminum, basically, subframe. and they build it, I'm assuming by hand, or mostly machine assisted by hand, but in Los Angeles. Maybe we'll look into one of these to review or build. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of Star Trek fans in the audience, so we wanted to include this one. It's a cool thing to do for cases. No idea if it's any good functionally, but this type of thing you're buying for looks, not for function, although it needs to hit a baseline. But at least they said the word thermals. That's good. The industry's changing. It's a lot different than 10 years ago. Next one, EK Water Blocks and Der Bauer have direct die cooling for LGA 1700 as a combo solution. So this is for 12th and 13th gen CPUs. It comes after Kit Guru worked with EK last year to investigate the benefits of this method for 12th gen. The products launched by EK include a delidding tool, a special backplate with integrated direct die frame, and a modded quantum velocity water block. If you're not familiar with direct die cooling, it's pretty literal in the naming. You delid the CPU, so you take the IHS off. We have videos on this if you want to see how it works. You then have an exposed die, clean it up, and at that point you mount normally a retention kit to secure the CPU in place, because now the Z height, the tolerances for the ILM, using a lot of acronyms so that the loading mechanism that you push down to secure the CPU no longer can apply the right amount of force in the right areas to retain the CPU, so you need a mechanism to hold it in place. That is part of what they're selling here. And then when you mount your cooler, it now directly contacts the die. There's a few risks with this. One of them is delidding. You might kill it in the delid process. Another one is applying pressure directly to the die, so you could damage the die if done improperly. You could damage the die while working with it externally. So stuff to think about. But the benefit is significantly better cooling in some cases. Sometimes it's less exciting, but with these hotter CPUs, it starts to make more sense. So EK's implementation modifies an existing quantum velocity squared water block. They use a new cold plate. It has a protrusion on the bottom, and it has deeper microfins as well. And they say these changes are to focus the flow of water directly over the die for maximum effect. The special mounting frame also comes with a compressible foam ring. This goes around the die, and it helps prevent damage in the case of liquid metal escaping if you're using liquid metal. And if you're going this far, you probably should. EK also prepared a special limited edition of all of these parts in a kit with a gold-plated version of the water block. It has the same pattern as the Intel Special Edition CPU packaging, and EK offered 100 of these, $355 each, already sold out. The last time EK put gold on something, their marketing language was, "It's not a sham." Wow. I didn't mean to say sham wow. What I meant to say was, I'm shocked when you're marketing the negative. Anyway, we already talked about that. So the other parts, you could pre-order them if you're really into this stuff. It's $80 for the delid tool. There's the Der Bauer partnership. $205 for the water block. $115 for the upgrade kit for people who already have EK's standard block. Up next, Micron 30 terabyte PCIe 4.0 SSDs. So Micron is bringing some high capacity SSDs to the data center market. These are in the 9400 product line, that's the naming, and they range from 6.4 terabytes up to 30.72. Now, you format it, you lose some of that capacity, of course. But this makes the 9400 the largest capacity PCIe Gen 4 SSD in the 2.5-inch form factor. It leads to what Micron claims is a 2.3x performance increase over competing SSDs. Full disclosure, we don't test SSDs, at least not anymore, so we're not going to, you could go find someone else to validate that statement. But that's what they say. All the models of the 9400 read and write at 7,000 megabytes per second sequentially, and they have various random read and write speeds. We'll just show Micron's spec sheet. So those are the random speeds. The actual flash itself is Micron's 176-layer 3D TLC NAND with a mean time to failure of 2 million device hours. The SSDs also have relatively new U.3 connectors. This is physically identical to U.2, but it enables support for NVMe, SAS, and SATA, all on the same backplane and controller. U.3 drives are backwards compatible with U.2 hosts, but U.2 drives are not compatible with U.3 hosts. We weren't able to find any pricing, which normally means expensive. As soon as you land on a website, and you control F dollar and nothing shows up, but there's a get quote button, you know you're in trouble. So we don't know what they're going to cost. They're not really meant for consumer market, obviously, but it'll eventually kind of come down to us. So this kind of thing, it's a good thing to keep an eye out for on eBay. Data center drives tend to end up there in bulk, and the workstation consumer market follows this pretty closely, so only a matter of time, but very high capacity drives. Next one is AirJet and some what they call solid state cooling. This one it was originally covered by PC World. It's a tech startup called Furore Systems, and it's bringing an entirely new form of cooling to the tech space where it moves air, but it doesn't have any active fans involved in the process of moving air. The video interview involves Gordon Ma-Un from PC World interviewing the people from the company here. Gordon does excellent work. We like working with him in videos, and his reporting is top class. So if you want to check it out, go to PCWorld.com or to their YouTube channel to get the full coverage of this. The quick recap of it is this is an AirJet solution, they call it, that works by vibrating membranes inside of the cooling device in such a way that air is drawn in through small slots in the top and exhausted out the side. So there's copper involved, bottom of the device. Air picks up the heat before it's blown out, and the AirJet is intended for low power silicon. So they say something like a 10-watt CPU, and they suggest in a thin notebook or something like that. In the current iteration, the company claims the system can be scaled up to 28 watts, which would utilize multiple of its AirJet Pro models. In general, they said in Gordon's interview that this solution is aimed at space-limited devices, such as where slim radial fans would be awkward. That'd be like phones and tablets. Sometimes you can't even get fans in those. And the CEO says that it's only a starting point, and they're looking into higher performance models in the future. If one of these ever comes to the desktop market, we'll probably look at it. It's cooling technology. It's pretty interesting because you think it's about as advanced as it gets. And you get someone like Malcolm Gutenberg from NVIDIA to come on and talk about what he does, and there's a lot more we can do still, even just in fans. So this thing, we question whether it's completely fair to call it solid state. It does have technically a moving element. It's a vibrating element in this case, but it's interesting, and we look forward to hopefully testing it in something in the desktop class. Up next, pretty simple here, Windows 10 is killing the licensing. So January 31st, 2023 is the last day you'll be able to buy Windows 10 licenses from Microsoft. There's a new section of text informing buyers of the change. It was added to product pages for both Home and Pro. Now, technically, you'll still be able to go out and buy physical versions of the license from retailers who still have it. So like Micro Center, Best Buy, whoever carries it. That'll probably be one of those like while supplies last situations because they're going to get rid of the licensing for Windows 10. It will still receive updates. So there was some confusion online where some people were like, wait, it's going to stop getting security updates. No, still getting updated, but you just won't be able to register it officially anymore if you do a new install. That said, this is obviously the next step for Microsoft to push into Windows 11 to supplant Windows 10. They are being very aggressive with it this time. It's probably going to be just as drawn out as the switch from 7 to 8, or more appropriately 7 to 10, with a lot of diehards and stragglers, us included. Not actually related to the story directly, but we also want to take a moment to talk about the idea of a Windows alternative for PC gaming. Now, Linux solutions have been in discussion for ages, and everybody's talked about sort of the cons of them at this point, which is normally ease of use or having to do something manually at some point that you don't expect. Valve's efforts with the Steam Deck and SteamOS, though, and the Proton compatibility layer have really moved Linux forward in general. Not just on SteamOS, for gaming support. So at the time of writing, Valve SteamOS 2, which is older, is available, and you can use it as a generic installer if you wanted to put it on a desktop. Now that version is from the company's former push for Steam machines as a living room console and no longer gets major updates. SteamOS 2 is very different from what ships on the deck, which is also a Linux-based solution. That's SteamOS 3. The newer version, which is where all the upgrades are, ships with a very competent desktop mode for a Windows-like experience even on the deck. And since you can't currently download an official SteamOS 3 installer, this has led to members of the community banding together to do it themselves. There's actually a project on GitHub, we'll show it on the screen here, that aims to provide the Steam Deck's SteamOS 3 experience on any hardware. Well, almost any hardware. They have one limitation, which is graphics support. limited to AMD and to Intel GPUs. Pretty big limitation. No Intel Arc or NVIDIA GeForce GPUs are supported at all. It's just the Intel IGPs that are supported. But if you're already familiar with Linux and workarounds, you might be able to get it to work. But that's beyond the scope of, one, this news piece and two, the project. Windows 10, though, killing the licensing. Up next, this is actually pretty cool. So Sony's working on a PS5 controller for users who have motor control challenges. This is a new controller. It's a kit that's designed with accessibility in mind specifically. And the new controller kit is currently under the codename Project Leonardo. It consists of 2 round control pads designed to lay flat on a surface or mounted to amps mounts. This eliminates the need to be held when it's used. The controllers have a ring of oversized buttons around the periphery that can be mapped to any standard PS5 input. The buttons themselves come in a variety of shapes and contours, so the user can fine-tune the layout to suit their needs. Similarly, the distance of the attached joystick to the main body of the controller can be adjusted for comfort and use, and Sony will allow for setting a custom north point on the stick, so it can be used in any orientation. So if you play with the controller, say, canted to the left, you could reorient the north point on the stick so that it still works in a way that would be intuitive. There are also multiple cap designs for the joystick that can be swapped out depending on preference and use requirements. The controllers feature 3.5mm aux ports to allow users to connect to an array of existing third-party accessories and switches. Sony will allow for the use of up to 2 new controllers and a standard DualSense controller together as a virtual input device. And Microsoft launched its own version of this idea a few years ago for Xbox, so it's good to see Sony following suit. Up last being like before our impending dystopian apocalyptic doom, not last for this news story. Amazon wants to put cameras in your house. As part of the Ring security camera system, they're attaching cameras to a drone, and then you put it in your house, and then the drone flies around your house and it records it. But don't worry, Amazon makes it clear that when you want privacy, you just dock the drone into the dock. Totally private now. You don't have to worry about audio recording anyway, or the fact that it's autonomous and it can fly out of the dock if something goes wrong. If you want to have mobile surveillance capabilities for it to fly into your bedroom, maybe fly through the litter box just to make sure it's all where it's supposed to be and no one has broken in to steal some of it. And this thing, you can't fly it around manually, so it doesn't operate like a normal drone. It can't traverse up and down stairs. You'll need one for each floor. And each flight is limited to 5 minutes. Now, you might be wondering why, and Amazon answers that question. In their demonstration video, there's a couple that has a dispute about whether or not the husband left the oranges at home and forgot to bring them to the picnic. And fortunately, because they had a flying drone from Amazon in their house, they were able to see the oranges were at home, and then they proceeded to do exactly what they would do without the drone, which is not have oranges at the picnic. Problem not solved. But at least you know they're there, as opposed to somewhere else. Like, it's a good thing they didn't just get up and leave. Now, there is a bright side to this. Perhaps, this is just my speculation, perhaps Amazon will now be able to fly through your house and figure out, oh, hey, we didn't know he was into records, but now that we can see them, maybe it's time we start bumping some record products up on the Amazon page. Or, and this is just Amazon, you just have this idea for free, maybe it flies around and it sees, hey, that paper towel roll looks like it's getting pretty low, maybe we'll just boop, order one of those and ship it to the house. This thing is super creepy. Also, if you're wondering if it's loud, the answer is yes. They had it behind a sheet of glass at CES, and you could still hear it through the glass. Not the best showcase. Amazon says, quote, it is about as loud as a vacuum or a blender during flight. They chose the 2 loudest household appliances. At least they're being honest, I guess. But I think they bill it as a home surveillance thing. So someone breaks into your house, the drone takes off and sees them, maybe calls the cops. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like if you're the burglar, the first thing you do is take the drone and then you leave. But anyway, that's what Amazon's doing with its money. So certainly not taxes. But Thanks for watching. Go to store.gamersnexus.net or patreon.com/gamersnexus to support us directly. Subscribe for more. We'll see you all next time.